All right, my name is James from Varsity Unlimited Tutors. I am a private tutor who basically assists students with their education. Right. So what we basically do is we go through the modules. Right. So for example, introduction to project management, we go through the different units that you are supposed to learn. We go through unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, until you're done, explaining, right, in a more relaxed environment, the key things that you need to know as found in your study guide, as found in your textbook. Right. Then, in addition to the lectures that we do, we also do the assignments, the quiz, case study assignments, whatever assignments that your lecturer has given you. We also go through the assignments with you guys to make sure that you at least get 100% on your assignments. That way, when we get to the end of the semester, when we do the exam, at least you've got some good marks from your assignments. Then number 3, we go through past exam papers with you guys, where we take the papers that were written in 2024, in 2025, in 2023, and we revise them in class with you to show you what were the expectations of the lecturer and what would have scored you a good mark if you had written that particular exam. So we do this from now until when you guys write your exams, that is at the end of May. So we have the month of March, we have the month of April, we've got the month of May. So that's about 8 weeks where we go through these things in preparation for the exams. Right. So for project management, introduction to project management, we meet every Tuesday, right? Same time. And then we have lectures for other modules also. For example, economics, we meet on Sundays. Management, business management, we meet on Wednesdays. And then on Thursdays, we do digital transformation. We also do end user computing. Right. If you want to join these classes, I'm going to post my number in the group, in the chat. You can just take my number. You can message me so that I can add you. We have a separate private group where we send the links to join, where we send the videos, where we send the notes, where we send the past exam papers, and etc. The cost, it's 800 Rand for the whole semester for one module. You can pay in installments. Right? For example, you can pay 200 Rand this month, 200 Rand next month, 200 until you are done. Right? So you can pay in installments. You're allowed to do that if you cannot afford to pay the full amount. If you want to negotiate the terms and all of those sort of things, you are free to come to me and then we can talk so that you can join the classes. All right, so I think those are the key things. I don't know if there are any specific questions for me before we actually start our lecture on project management. Are there any questions for me?
Hi, James. Sorry.
Mhm.
I spoke to you earlier today. It's Nomaswazi. We spoke during the day. So I
Mhm.
see most of the guys that I was inquiring for there in the group. So there were some questions that they
Mhm.
had. So if maybe we can give them the platform for them to just ask those questions. Because one of the question was, is it 200 Rand per module?
Mhm.
Or what? So I answered as best as I could remember according
Mhm.
to our conversation. But then
Mhm.
if they have joined, they can just maybe just raise their hands and then ask, then we can
Okay.
take it through from here. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, it's fine. So you guys can ask questions. Maybe I'll just clarify on the 200 Rand is 200 Rand per month for one module. So example, like I was highlighting, you pay 200 Rand this month, you pay another 200 Rand next month, you pay another 200 Rand. The total fee for a module is 800 Rand. That is the total fee for a module. However, we do allow 4 installments of 200 Rand each. So that is how it end up when sometimes we say 200 Rand, we are just saying 200 Rand a month for the next 4 months to cover that one particular module. So that is the cost. Then if there are questions like she highlighted, if you've got other questions that you want to ask, feel free to either just unmute yourself and ask your question or send the question in the chat. And then I'll answer it. I just want to answer the questions before we start the class because I'm not the one who's teaching this particular class. I teach what call it, microeconomics. That's the one that I teach. But for this class, we've got Sandy. Sandy is an engineer by profession. He's the one who teaches project management because that is his specialty. Any questions? I'll also just post my number in the group there. If there are no questions, or if you want to ask the questions privately, you can always give me a call after the class is done.
Okay, I think I'm getting better clarity now. I thought it's 800 rand per month. So it's 800 rand for the whole semester.
Yes, it's 800 rand for
Awesome.
the whole semester for one module. It's 800
Okay.
rand for the whole semester for one module, but you can pay it in installments because we
Okay.
don't also want to bankrupt you. You can pay it in installments over 4 months. If 4 months is too little and say, James, can I do 5 months or 6 months instead? That's too fine. I don't really mind, right? As long as you're doing your installments, that's not a problem with me. So if you want to negotiate the terms, you can come to my inbox and we can talk. All right.
Okay. Understood.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
I keep
Yes.
hearing you say before the class starts. Do we have an actual class today or?
Yes, we are doing introduction to project management lesson number 1.
Oh, I thought someone said
Mhm.
someone told me today is just gonna be an introduction of how
No.
things will be
Of course,
done.
I was going to just introduce myself, but we actually do have a class today. So the issue that is there, maybe just to give you a bit of a background. So I already have students that actually
Oh,
paid for introduction to project management. So we actually started last week. Last week, we actually did the introduction where we just were talking. Today, I was actually supposed to do lesson number 1 with them, but I then got word that there are some other students that want to join. So I thought, hey, why should we separate them? Let them come through today. Even if we're doing lesson number 1, they will still benefit because this is like the first lesson of the module where we do unit number 1. It will be beneficial for them. So it's a free class today. Don't worry about paying anything, but feel free and we'll take you guys through. I believe it's doing unit number 1 today.
okay. Thank you for the
All right.
clarity.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Sandy, are you in?
Yeah, yes, I'm in. Yes, I'm
No.
in. All right.
Okay, that's fine. I think you can go ahead. If there are any other questions, maybe I'll take them at maybe 5 to 8 or something like that. But for now, I think you can go ahead in the class. Sure.
All right, that's fine. Sure. All right, just a moment here. Okay. All right, guys. So welcome to Introduction to Project Management. But like James has alluded to, last week we did some part of an introduction. We talked about maybe the basics of what project management is. So we just did some part of introduction when it comes to project management. We defined what a project is. I'm sure by now everybody knows what a project is, because I'm sure you had a session this week on Unit 1, so I'm sure everybody knows on what a project is and whatever whatever constitutes a project, like the attributes of a project and things alike. But we're just going to go through it because we can't start another unit without going through everything. So I know that maybe sometimes other people would not have understood some of the aspects as you went through them before. But as you are going to go through this session, feel free to ask any questions that you might need, or to ask anything that might be hazy for you. But also another thing that I usually do is I usually teach using more of examples. So be prepared to go through a lot of examples, because whatever we do, or project management, is more of a practical thing, because it's something that is really done in real life. So we are going to go through a lot of examples as we go through this. this module. So this is unit number 1. What is a project? So a project is just an activity that consumes time, that consumes money, that needs human effort in terms of scope. All right. So a project, when you're talking about a project, we are saying that it's something that you need to do, or it's something that is done in order to reach a desired outcome, or in order to reach desired deliverables, right? So I think on project here, if you are to look at different type of projects, all right, that exist, different types of projects that exist. Projects, they come in different ways, they come in different sizes, and they come in different, say, sectors, all right? You can have a project in sectors like construction, you can have a project in sectors like marketing, you can have a project in sectors like engineering. So all those different sectors, they are specific projects that usually come under those particular sectors. So you, as a project manager or as a project professional, you can work also in different sectors. You can find work, or you can find jobs in different sectors, right? So I think here there's nothing much we want to talk about on these careers on in project management, right? Then when we talk about a project, the main thing of a project, guys, is usually it's either change circumstances within organizations, right? So most of the time, when people employ or when people use projects, now I'm talking in terms of organizations, they do it in order to maybe increase what? Increase value of either their systems, of either their products, of either their services. All right, that's the reason why people usually take on projects. So projects are there, or they are used as vehicles to improve processes within organizations, all right, to improve products within organizations, right? So projects, again, there are some certain characteristics, okay, that perhaps come with projects. These characteristics, sometimes they are called attributes. If you check in other different texts or in other different modules, they are not called attributes, they say project characteristics. But when you hear project characteristics or project attributes, or maybe, yeah, project attributes and project characteristics, they're talking about one and the same thing. So what are the attributes of a project, or the things that make a project? Number 1, it's temporal, it's temporal nature, all right? The temporary nature of a project is a characteristic. We are saying a project does not go on and on. A project has got what? Has got a time frame that is set for it. So it has got a beginning and an ending. All right. So that's the first characteristic of a project. If you are saying you're doing a project and then you find yourself not finishing that thing, then that thing ceases to be a project. It becomes something else. It can become maybe even an operation, or it can become even a process, because it ceases to what? To fulfill the attributes that makes up a project, right? Again, a project's sole purpose is to create. That is, it has got the intention of producing something, most of the time something that was never there before. All right, so that's another attribute or another characteristic of a project, right? A project is non-routine. That is, it does not follow a specific direction. When it comes to tasks that are done, tasks usually they are dependent on specific activities that needs to be performed within a project. So there's no maybe perhaps a specific direction or a specified direction that a project is set in stone to follow, right? A project, again, is limited by time, cost, and resources. So there's an aspect of limitations, or there's an aspect of constraints. When you are doing a project, it has to be done within some specific parameters. Okay, so when we're talking about parameters, if we say cost, we are saying cost as a limitation. When you do a project, it has got a budget that you need to stay within. There's no project that is given infinite budget. So a project is limited by a particular budget that is given to it, right? Again, limited by time. We talked about the time aspect where we said it has to have a beginning and an ending. So there is a limited duration in which a project should be what? Should be performed. Again, limited by resources. So organizations, they don't have infinite resources. If whatever you do or activities that are performed within a project, they are given specific resources that are meet or that are enough for those particular activities. You don't get more resources than what is necessarily needed, right? Again, another thing, why do we do projects? We do projects in order to meet or to exceed the expectations of customers, right? So at first I said, when you're looking in organizations, you can do a project for beneficial change or maybe for improving processes and operations within your organization, right? So those type of projects, we call them maybe perhaps projects that are there to improve, for projects that are there for continuous improvement, right? To improve processes of an organization. Also, a project can be prompted by external what? By external individuals. Like maybe perhaps we are looking at Albany Bread, that company that bakes bread. We are saying customers will come to Albany and then they say, we want a bread that meets so and so criteria, that meets this and this and this and this. So because of that, Albany already has got a list or already has got its line of products that it produces already. So to take that into consideration, what the market is demanding, and to start producing that thing, it can become a project. So that project, it's not them, Albany as an organization, who have conceived the project, but it's something that has been conceived or something that the market is demanding, something that the clients are requiring. So a project again can be prompted because of what the market wants or because of what clients require, instead of them maybe having a project to improve their what? Their operations or to improve the processes or systems that they use as they do their baking. So a project can be can come in two ways. It can be caused by the market, it can be caused by external circumstances, or it can be caused by internal circumstances, right? Again, a project requires participation across all departments. What are we saying? So as you perform a project, most of the time you are looking at different fields, okay? So when we consider different fields, like we are considering the cost aspect, which is cost management aspect, we are considering the quality aspect, which is maybe quality management, we are considering maybe say procurement aspect, which is procurement management. These three fields are usually different, all right? As these three fields are different, the guys that has got knowledge concerning costs, usually they come from the accounting department, right? And the sales guys. The ones that have got maybe knowledge concerning what? Concerning quality, we are talking about quality inspectors and so forth. So these people, they have different skills and they have different knowledge. But when we are now doing a project, we combine those different skills and knowledge so that we have something solid, or so that we have something that we work on as a unit. So it needs participation from different people with different skill sets and different knowledge areas, right? So that's what this point is just saying there. So these are the attributes that constitutes a project, or the characteristics that constitutes a project, right? project components. So when we talk about project components, we are simply looking at just the items that are key in project. So what are these items? We have what we call a milestone. All right, we have what we call a milestone. So a milestone is just a point within a project that shows you that there is a change, or that shows you that there is some form of development as the project is being executed. So examples of a milestone, what can we think of an example of a milestone? If we check maybe to say we want to look for an example like maybe construction of a mall as a project that needs to be done, right? So when a mall is being constructed, there are different phases, or there are different stages that the project is going to go through, right? So the first stage, okay, of maybe pouring concrete, clearing the ground and whatever, up until we have a foundation. That stage can be called a milestone, right? Whereby we have a solid foundation that is completed, that is everything. Now the foundation is ready for the builders, or ready for people to start building. That we can call it a what? We can call it a milestone, because it's signifying a marker or a point within the project whereby significant tangible change is showing. Right? So that's what a milestone is. It's just a marker within a project that shows you what? That there is change, or that there is some form of what? Some form of progression within the project. Right. That's what a milestone is. So most of the time, I think you can hear it from the executives when people are doing, or when people are performing projects, right? The executives, they are not much interested. Maybe let's say the funders or donors, they are not much interested about the day-to-day operations of what's happening on the ground when it comes to projects, but they are interested in milestones. So when you are reporting to them, there's no need for them to report every day to say, this day people were digging trenches and we were able to maybe perhaps put up some beams. We're able to do. No, they don't want that. They just want you to report to them that at this day we have completed our foundation. We are now going to start what? To start building. So the completion of a foundation is a milestone, because it shows a significant what? Change within a project, or it shows a significant stage that has been reached within the project. So milestones are powerful components because they represent critical events and map forward progress. All right. So sometimes even milestones can be in other projects, they can be celebrated. The fact that you reach that stage of, say, we are talking about a foundation that has already been completed, or a foundation that has been completed, people can celebrate that particular foundation, right? Then we talk about an activity. So when we talk about an activity, it's just a something, okay? It's just something, or it's just a task that consists different items that are done. So an activity, we are saying, let me give you an example of an activity. When you talk about this construction of a mall project, right? There are different tasks, or there are different activities that are done in the foundation building, right? Laying out, or maybe perhaps digging out.
Sorry to disturb you, Mr. Takunda. I have a
Yes.
request, please. Sorry to disturb you.
Yes.
I see there's a lady here by the name of Buyi. Her face is appearing on the screen, so it's quite distracting. If maybe she can just switch off her camera, please.
All right. All right, all right, thank you for that. Can we, guys, may we please switch off our cameras? All right, thank you for that. Okay. All right. So I was talking about activities. So these what can we call them? These are maybe tasks, okay, that consumes time within a project. So if we're talking about digging, all right, that digging aspect, it has got a time that is allotted to it, all right. So a scheduled phase of a project plan with a beginning and an ending, all right. So it's just a phase, all right, or maybe it's just a task that you do within a project, but it has got a bearing on the project deliverables or where the project is going, all right. It has got a bearing, it adds on what we want to achieve within the project. So examples of tasks or of activities, we are saying, like I said, digging, you are saying maybe laying out of foundations, you are saying construction of pillars, you are saying construction of walls, you are saying roofing, all right, you are saying painting. So those are all tasks. Maybe even tiling, that's a task also. So there are tasks that is got a bearing and that improve or that adds on to what the project intends to achieve, right? Then you talk about deliverable. So when you talk about deliverable, usually you're talking about the outcomes of the project, right? So a deliverable may either be a service, may either be a product, all right? If you are talking about a service, we are saying if you look at projects like the ones that we find in IT, all right. So you can come up with different systems that can be used, or you can come up with different systems that can be uploaded online so that people they utilize those particular systems. That's a service that you have provided, right? Or you can come up with a product, a physical, tangible product, like perhaps delivering. When I talked about the urban bread aspect, delivering that bread, it's something that is tangible. It's a product that is tangible, a product that is needed by people. So deliverables are just tangible goods or services, all right, that are created by a given project. So I think these ones are just simple terms, but they are different. That's why they are a bit difficult to explain because they are just simple. If you hear about an activity, you know what we are talking about. If you hear about a deliverable, you know what we are talking about, right? So there are different types of projects. Like I said earlier on, there are different types of projects. In this one, we are saying you can have administrative projects, all right? You can have new product development project, like whereby you create something new that has never been there before. You can have a research project whereby you develop a vaccine or you develop a drug that helps people. All right. You can have a construction project whereby you build a house or you build a mall, like the one that I was talking about there. You can have an event project whereby you plan for a birthday party, you can plan for a wedding, you can plan maybe for a marathon race. That a marathon race, just plan for that again. It can be a project on its own. So, but it's an event because it's something that is done on a single day or maybe for 2 days, but it's an event, it falls under event. You can have an equipment project whereby you develop something new that is helpful to people or that is helpful in different areas that you are creating it for. So those are just the types of projects that exist. So they are different and they are found in different sectors when you talk about these projects, right? As a project is being executed, there are important aspects that affects a project. These aspects, we call them what? Constraints, right? So project constraints are just limiting factors, all right? Maybe that restricts how a project can be planned and how a project can be executed. Right? So these constraints, they usually define the boundaries within which a project manager must operate, and maybe they always require, they sometimes, not sometimes, they usually require you to make some trade-offs when changes occur within your project, right? So what are we saying? We are saying that we have what are called triple constraints. So these triple constraints, it comprises of three major constraints within a project. It comprises of a cost, time, and scope, right? So these three constraints, they are usually what? They are usually interdependent on each other, meaning that if one of them is changed, or if one of them is affected, it has got the capacity to affect the other two constraints, right? So a project is not maybe perhaps affected by these three triple constraints alone. There are also other constraints that affect project beyond our triple constraints. And these constraints we talk about maybe of quality. Quality is another constraint that can affect project. And when we talk about quality, we are simply saying maybe quality, it looks at the standards and performance requirements that the project deliverables must meet. All right. So when you are doing a project, obviously at the beginning of your project, there are some requirements that are required of the project. So for your project to be said it has achieved its quality, it has to meet or exceed those particular requirements or those particular standards that are set at the beginning of the project, right? So when you talk about these quality constraints, they often require you to do strict testing to make sure that compliance is being done, to make sure that whatever the project is producing is within the baseline requirements that were given for it in the beginning. So quality is another constraint that can affect your project. Then resources. So resources is another constraint. When we talk about resources, we are looking at the human resources, we are looking at maybe equipment, we are looking at materials, we are looking at technology that you need for your particular project to be executed. All right. So if you have limited availability of maybe perhaps say skilled personnel, or maybe specialized equipment, or maybe even materials, you can restrict your project progress, and that also may have an effect or may affect your schedule and cost as a whole, right? Again, another aspect or another constraint is risk. Another one maybe is the stakeholder expectations. It can be also a constraint towards your project. You can have constraints like maybe regulatory and legal requirements. So sometimes you want to do a project and the environment that you are doing the project in, you might be but the environment might have strict regulatory or strict environmental consents, whereby you are told that of course you want to do this particular project, but your project should not affect this and this and this within our environment. So that becomes also a constraint towards your project. You can have constraints even like maybe technology. A technology can become a constraint in project. Why? Because sometimes there is new technology that is coming in play, or sometimes the project that you want to do, it requires certain different type of technologies. So it becomes your responsibility to integrate those different type of technologies in order to get where you want to get to within your project. So I think those are some of the other constraints that can affect a project, right? I think for this one, the triple constraint, let me just explain it in simple terms to show the interdependence of it. Maybe let's just use the construction of a mall as an example, like what I said earlier on, right? We are saying that if you look at scope within the construction of a mall, usually I said scope refers to the work that needs to be done on a project. So when you look at scope for the construction of a shopping mall, we are looking at the scope could include things like number of retail stores within the mall. the number of parking levels within the mall, right? Maybe the food courts that are going to be also what required from the project, maybe the cinemas, landscaping, maybe even security systems. All these items, they fall under the scope because they are the work that needs to be done on the what? On the mall, right? So how does scope affect maybe the cost and time of a project? So if we take for an example, say the developer of that mall decides to add an extra cinema complex and a rooftop entertainment area, okay, after say construction has already started, what's going to happen here? The scope is going to increase because we are now looking for an extra cinema. We are now looking for a rooftop entertainment. So what will happen to your cost? Obviously, this increase in scope will require additional funding and will also require more time to complete that particular work. So it affects what? The scope that has been added affects what? The cost, and it affects also the what? The schedule. Like we can look at time. Say maybe this mall was supposed to be completed in 24 months, but then we have a problem. We have bad weather that happens for 2 weeks. We have a cyclone that continues to rain non-stop. After the cyclone is gone, it's going to be difficult for work to resume immediately. There are some processes that need to be done to remove water from those what from that work area and things alike, which might take me even maybe another month for that to be cleared, so that people can begin to work on the project. So what does it do? It means that your timeline of the project is going to what? Is going to be affected. Instead of taking 24 months, it's going to take 25 months. All right. So by so doing, you may need to, if you want to stick to that particular timeline, you may need to reduce some of the scope so that you are able to finish that project within 24 months, or you may need to add more additional funding to be able to enable you as the project manager to add more resources. When you talk about more resources, I'm talking about more personnel, or maybe to increase work over time so that you cover up that 1 month that was gone due to bad weather, right? We can look at cost as another aspect, or as another constraint. And on cost, what are we saying? Maybe the budget for this mall was 10 million. All right, let's say it was 10 million rands, right? Now the funder or the donor says they are not able to give you that 10 million. They can supply you, or they can provide you 8 million. So you have to work with now 8 million. But remember, you already have everything planned out. So what are you going to do? It's either you are going to reduce the scope, that is the work that needs to be done on the project, in order to fit the new budget that you have, and you are also going maybe perhaps to reduce the timeline so that you don't have to pay personnel, you don't have to pay workers for 24 months, yet you are not going to do that same exact work that was calculated for that 24 months. So that's another thing that this cost, time, and scope can have concerning your project, right? So I think I've explained on these triple constraints. So that's how they are interdependent, and that's how they affect one another, right? Then we look at organizational processes and projects. So remember, I was saying what? I was saying that most organizations, what they do, they are called processes because they do the same thing over and over and over again. We can take an example of, say, Kia Motors. Right, Kia Motors. So Kia Motors, they produce a certain brand of vehicles. Their processes and plans are set in stone. They just do the same repetitive jobs over and over and over again. So those ones, we call them processes. But when we are looking at a project, say in Kia Motors, this project, let's say the market demands Kia to produce a sports car. They demand Kia to produce a sports car, a two-door. Kia has never done something like that before. But because they've got a lot of people that maybe they want them to produce that particular vehicle, what do? They embark on that project, right? When they are embarking on developing that two-door vehicle, what they do and everything they do up until they have the car in the showroom, that's a project. Because remember, there are a lot of processes that are going to be taking place. When it comes to materials, they are going to be doing tests on the materials to use on the bodies, test on the materials to use on the wheels. Even they are going to test even materials that they are going to be using within the interior of the vehicle. They are going to do some tests on the engine up until they are satisfied with some specific engine, or they are satisfied with some specific materials, and then they come up with a product, a complete vehicle, a two-door, right? So that one is a project. Why? Because it had a beginning and it had an ending. It had a specified duration and it had objectives that were required to be met. So to produce that sports car and you have it at the end of the day, they have done a project because it's something that they did not have initially, right? When that car is now there, and now they say they perhaps they celebrate and everything. Now they say we want now to produce this car in mass production. Then that car ceases to be a project. It now becomes a process. It now becomes an organizational process because now they are mass producing. Maybe they are targeting to say per month they have to produce 2,000 or 3,000 of those vehicles. But remember, this mass production that is now being done, they set processes, they set the plans, they set everything that must be done. And those things, they start to do the repetitive cycles, the repetitive actions that they do on other vehicles. So that project, that vehicle, that sports car, the first time they did it, it was a project. But when they start mass producing it for resale, it becomes processes. Those procedures, those whatever they do, they now become processes because it's a repetitive, it's being done on a daily basis. Right. So that's the difference that you find between a project and a process. When you talk about process, it's a repetition of something in order to make a profit. But when you talk about a project, you want to have something unique you are building in order to achieve or to get a product or a service that may never have been there before. So that's the difference between these particular two, right? So this table here just shows you the difference. When we talk about the nature of organizational processes, we are saying they are ongoing and repetitive activities, all right? When we talk about the nature of projects, they are temporal activities with a defined start and ending, all right? The output of organizational processes, what are the outputs? Obviously, they are consistent. They produce the same output every now and again, and it's repetitive outputs that you get. But when you look at projects, they usually produce a unique output, right? When you look at the purpose, organizational processes, purpose is there to maintain and support daily operations. Like I said, now you are just maintaining it for the purpose of reselling. These are just daily operations, or you can look even, it may be, you see what is done in organizations on month-end basis, whereby they produce pay slips, they do that accounting stuff to create pay slips and whatever, and they pay you. It's something that they do on a monthly basis. So it's a process. We call it organizational process, right? Then on project, what is the purpose? The purpose is to improve maybe existing processes. The purpose is to change what has already been there to something better or to create new products or new services. That's the purpose of a project. Work structure. What is the work structure and organizational processes? Obviously, they are predefined roles and job descriptions. If you are doing some duties that you perform every day at your workplace, those are the same things that you already do. When you talk about projects now, project roles are flexible and depend on project needs, right? Then duration. Duration is the same. We are saying projects, they've got a limited duration, and organizational processes, they continue without any fixed date. So these are the differences between our organizational processes and our projects, right? Then we look at relationship that exists between portfolios, programs, and projects, right? We say the project is just an activity that consumes what? Resources in order to come up with a unique product, right? When you talk now about a portfolio, I think it's, let me go from projects to program and portfolio. When you talk about a program is just a group of related projects which are managed together, all right? And when you talk about a portfolio, is a collection of programs which are also managed what? Together. So a project, if you bring them and they become more, they will feed and become what we call a program, right? And if you take different programs, they will feed and come into what we call a portfolio. So usually a portfolio is managed at the highest level of management. Like we talk about the executives, they're the ones that manages what portfolios, and programs are usually managed by at the management level, managers. Then when you talk about a project, you are now talking about the project manager, right? So there are some levels that are there to these three items, right? Let me give you an example of that shows a portfolio, a program, and a project, right? So we can look at, say, the Minister of Health, all right, the Minister of Health. So the Minister of Health might have two portfolios. They might have one for communicable diseases, okay? Then another for non-communicable diseases. So we are saying a portfolio of non-communicable diseases is going to have all items that deal with non-communicable diseases. And the portfolio of communicable diseases is going to have all items that deals with what? Communicable diseases, right? Under the portfolio of communicable diseases, we have different programs. We have a program of maybe HIV and AIDS program. We have a malaria control program. We have a tuberculosis program. We have a COVID-19 program. So all these, they are communicable diseases that fall, no, they are communicable programs, right, that fall under the portfolio of communicable diseases, right? So within the program of, say, COVID-19, that's where we find different projects that are included in that program. What are the different projects? These projects, remember, they should be related to the program, is what this point is alluding to. It's saying a program is a group of related projects, right? So within the COVID-19 program, that's where we have projects like we
Different,
say vaccine. Sorry, someone is. Let me see this. All right. Projects like now we are saying, let's look at what happened with the COVID-19. So there were different projects that were done there within Project 19. You had the awareness campaign projects being done, whereby you were having flyers, people were throwing out flyers, others were using even the television and the radios to tell us what to do, wash your hands all the time, use soap, use whatever. So that one, we can call it maybe a campaigning awareness project, because that was a project that was done to make sure that people understand about what? About COVID-19. Then we have another project of, say, vaccination project, whereby there were a lot of booths that were erected around the country. If you check in towns everywhere, because they wanted to have everybody get vaccinated. So what did they do? They embarked on the project to make sure that you have a vaccination booth, maybe within a radius of 2 kilometers from wherever you are. So that vaccination program, or that vaccination drive that was happening, that was a project on its own. Then you had another project whereby scientists were developing the different cures or the different vaccines for the COVID-19. So if you check, you have awareness campaign projects, you have vaccination projects, and you also have what? You also have vaccine development projects that were there. So if you check all of them, they are projects that are related. They are related to combating COVID-19. So if you take all of them, those different projects, they fall under the program that we call what? COVID-19. And if you take that program of COVID-19 with other programs like malaria control and whatever, they fall into the portfolio of communicable diseases that the minister has. So I think that's the difference that you find between portfolio, program, and projects that are done, right? Then I think that's all that you need to know on this. Then determinants of project success or critical success factors. What are we saying? For projects to succeed, there need to be some factors, all right, that needs to be followed by both the project manager and the project team members. All right, so number one, clear objectives or goals. So we need to have clear objective or goals, because clear objective or goals clearly shows us where the project intends to go. And if everybody knows what the project intends to do, it becomes easier for the project manager to execute that project, right? Good project plan. So on good project plan, we are saying that failure to plan is planning to fail. What am I saying? You need a solid project plan in place when you are doing your project, because this plan acts as a roadmap. It acts as a map, all right, that shows you the direction to take in order to reach your particular destination. So a good project plan will have different ways, or it will show you different ways on how you are going to manage communication aspects within the project, how you are going to manage costs within the project, in terms of, say, if the costs do like this, how are you going to respond? It also shows you how you're perhaps going to manage risks. If risks come in play as you're executing the project, what specific measures are you going to take? What specific strategies are you going to use? So all of those things, you find them in what? In a good project plan. It also shows you maybe perhaps the items of quality. All right. How are you going to make sure that quality is built within your particular project? How are you going to make sure that the items that you are producing are the exact items that are required? Are you going to be performing audits? Are you going to be performing inspections? What are you going to be doing? So all those items, you find them in a good project plan, a plan that shows you everything concerning the project, right? So if you have that plan, then you are one step closer to having a successful project. Adequate resources. So it's difficult to work with scarce resources. Imagine you are given resources to do whatever you are doing, but those resources are not enough. Then it becomes difficult. So for a project to succeed, or for a project to be successful, there's need for adequate resources to be available, or to be made available by the top management, right? Dedicated team. Obviously, when you are working on a project, you need people that has got a buy-in in what is being done. It's difficult to work with people that don't have a buy-in, or with people that are thinking otherwise when you want to achieve a specific task. So when you want to achieve a specific task, it's important, or an objective is important, that everybody within your organization, if it's an organization, everybody within there has got a buy-in, and they feel a sense of ownership towards what is being done. All right. top management support, obviously, when you do a project, you need your top management to support you. Why? Because when projects are being done, some things can happen that you never anticipated. So when you have the backing of your top management, it means that if anything happens, the top management will be willing to work with you. They'll be willing even maybe to avail more resources if the circumstance calls for that. So you need to have their support, their backing, because they are the ones that usually have the final say on things that happen within organizations. Right? Transparency, you need to be transparent. There is no need for you to write false progress reports to say, no, for now we have achieved so and so and so, we are in phase 2, when you are still in phase 1 and you haven't achieved anything. So there must be transparency between you and relative stakeholders of the project. Monitoring and evaluation. Why do we monitor and evaluate? We do it for the purposes of what? Of tracking progress within the project, for the purpose of tracking progress and measuring whether the actual work that is being done is corresponding to the actual work that was agreed upon. So that's why we do monitoring and evaluation. If you do that monitoring and you identify that some areas are lacking, then you need to make sure that you evaluate it. How do you evaluate it? You evaluate it by bringing in remedial solutions so that the particular work that is on the ground corresponds with what is supposed to be done, that you have as the baseline work. All right. Then good client relations. Obviously, you need to have good relationship with your clients. If they are clients, maybe they are customers, you need to have good relations, because by so doing, there is openness. People can give you honest feedback on whatever you are working upon. If they see that something is not right, they are not afraid to tell you, and you also must be open minded, and you must be open to receive feedback from the client. So by having good client relations, it increases the chances of your project being what? Being successful. Right. So that's what these determinants of project success look about. Then again, we have, I think these ones, it's just phases that are going or that a project passes through. All right, phases that a project passes through. So sometimes there are 5, depending on the text that you are using. These are the phases that a project passes through. It passes through the initiation phase, where you start by coming up with an idea to say, what is it that we want to do on this particular project? Right. Then you go to the planning phase, you go to the execution phase, then you go to the closing phase. So these are just phases that a project passes through. Right. And these phases, like I said, there might be 5 and there might be 4. In this module, we deal with 4. So we are going to deal with these 4 that are listed there. But in other cases, there are 5. They consider what we call monitoring and evaluation, or monitoring and controlling, as a standalone phase. So usually you find it at the 4th stage. So on initiation, it's just whereby you are building a strong case for why you want to do a particular project. You need to have reasons why you want to do a project. Is it a project that you are doing in response to the market? Is it a project that you are doing in response maybe to perhaps improving processes within your organization? So it just depends on the case that may be, but you need to build a strong case for why you want to do a project. You conduct feasibility studies to ascertain whether a project is viable. Is this project that we want to do feasible? Is it doable? Can we do this particular project? Then you identify your key stakeholders, the people that matters within that project, or the people that are affected within that particular project, and you develop a project chart. So these are key activities that are done within the initiation or conceptualization phase of a project. Then on the planning aspect, you are just developing a formal project management plan, which is the blueprint that your project is going to use. All right. So on planning, there's nothing much there, except you are coming up with some smaller mini plans. You come up with a plan on how you're going to manage your stakeholders. You come up with your plan on how you are going to manage procurement. You come up with a plan on how you are going to manage your time or your schedules. So that's what happens on the planning stage. Then on the execution, it is whereby you execute the plan to the ground. You are executing what is on the what is on the plan. You are executing it. You start to work on the plan and produce deliverables on the ground. Then closing, it's whereby you just close the project after everything has been done and everything is completed. What do? You take the deliverables and you give them to the respective stakeholders or to the respective clients. You identify areas where your project was successful. You identify areas where your project failed, and you document those areas for future purposes. All right. Then I think that's there on that. What is the importance of project management? It helps us to save time and money. It helps us to minimize risk. It helps us even in managing quality, improving communication, and all this other stuff. Right. Then, as you do a project, you don't just do a project, you need to select a project from that pool of projects that are available within organizations. So, how do you select them? You select them using either what we call quantitative models or numeric models, or you use what we call qualitative models or non-numeric models. But these items will be explained further as we look into other units where they are detailed. This is just a browsing through to show you that when you are selecting projects, we don't just do a project. You need to use some selection approaches that are available for that. Right. Then I think we are done with unit number 1. Yes, I think we are done with unit number 1. Are there any questions on what we've just talked about there? Let's talk. So I think I like people to be very free to say whatever they think so that it helps us to learn some items that maybe have been missed and whatever. So let's talk.
Just to check from my side, the project charter, is it the same as scope of work?
Yes.
Is it one thing?
No, they are different. They are different. When you talk about a project charter, it's something that is produced at the beginning. Usually it's signed off by the project sponsor to give maybe authority to the project manager to begin to work on the project. So it's different from with the other item that you've said. When you talk about scope, it's something that we do entirely on its own. So they are different items.
Mr. Takunda, based on
Yes.
what you just explained now, I think I also read somewhere where it says a project charter is a document, and the scope is
Yes.
it's something that gives you that a view of what the project is all about.
Yes, that's very true.
Okay.
Yes. Because what does the project charter, what it just does, it's more like a, what do you call this? It's more like a license to say, now you can start working on the project. So a project charter is the one that shows that a project manager can produce and say, this thing was signed off. It's more like it's giving you authority to start working on a project. So now when we talk about the scope documents, it's another item because we are now looking at the work that we need to do on the project. All right. Any other items, guys? Let's talk. Come on, guys, let's talk.
For me, Mr. Takunda, it's just a question.
Yes.
The slides that you were going through,
Yes.
including the session that is being recorded, is it going to
Yes.
be shared through to us so that we can also go through it on our own?
Yes, it will be shared with you. It will be shared with you. Yeah, they will give you that slide and they'll give you even the recording so that you go through it. It's fine.
Oh, okay then. Thank you, because I was a bit distracted as I was just adding the other guys to the team because what the group that we were using,
All
it was
right.
discontinued. So I
All
got
right.
this step somewhere somehow. So I just needed to know if I can be able to catch up on the things that I did miss on my side.
All right.
So,
No problem.
yeah,
You keep
yeah, last one,
catch up.
just to
Yes.
check in terms of the, like on the constraint, usually like during COVID-19, I don't
Yes.
know what happened to the projects which took place there, but I think majority of them were affected. How did maybe the project manager handle those situations according to you? Because it was outside, it was something that was not seen or foreseen. And even if they had a contingency plan, remember they did not know when COVID-19 will end. How did they
Yeah. All
manage
right.
to?
For that one, you know what we did even at our organization? We just put a hold on all projects because there were no people that were going to work, and maybe there were just managers that were going to work, but a lot of people were not going to work. So most of the projects, the ones that were not like the ones that were not affecting the delivery services much, those ones were put on hold. We put on hold all the projects that did not affect delivery service because from where I work, we work I work in a council. All right. So in that council, what we do is we give delivery services to the communities and what so forth. So the ones that were not giving delivery services, the ones that were not in direct contact with helping people, we stopped all those particular projects during that COVID-19. Because remember, at that time, the most important aspect was to save lives. So whatever we were doing, we were following what the government was telling us to do. But when the COVID was said, now it's done, it's over, that's when we started revisiting those other projects. So this one I just gave you as an example on portfolios and programs and projects because I was just telling you that as much as other organizations had stopped their projects, the government was having projects on their own, like those ones of vaccination and whatever, their projects, because they were done and they had a specific time frame in which they were supposed to be done and completed by. So they were projects on their own. But the ones with other organizations, it depends on how your organization was critical. Maybe if the organization was critical and the projects you were doing were also critical in maybe perhaps enhancing saving lives, then I think those organizations they proceeded doing those projects. But if it was not critical, let's say we are working in you are working in maybe perhaps you are working the on
Maybe
what
building a
can I
mall, for
say?
example, does not affect
Mm.
any.
All right, let's say you're working at yes, when you're working in a mall, it doesn't affect, or maybe you're working where you produce different clothes and you're having projects where you wanted to produce some dresses and whatever. Those items, they were not going to help anyone out. So I think those particular projects, as an organization, will just hold them and say, when things are okay, we'll continue the project.
Okay, just for clarity,
Yes.
which group will this recording be shared to?
I don't know because what I just do is I take you guys through the lessons. James is the one who does all these things. So I think you can communicate with him, but he usually shares these things. All right. Any other issues before
Yes,
we go?
Mr. Takunda, in terms of the today's lessons,
Yes.
in terms of the exam format, what tips can you give us in terms of what you shared today?
Right. It's very difficult for me to say this and this. What I can tell you is from what we have done during the day, mostly the items that are asked when it comes to examination is maybe the determinants of project success. That is the critical factors that you find in project success. So I'm telling you in terms of the past examination papers that I've seen. All right. So those are the items that they usually maybe perhaps ask, and also they usually ask what? Yes, organizational processes against projects. Those are the other items that they usually ask. But I can't give you a solid answer to say this and this. Why? Because usually it depends within the year what they want to ask. They might ask maybe 3 items or 4 items from this module, or they can ask you 2 items from this module. Then not from this module, but from this unit. The next the unit that you on unit 2, they can ask one thing. We are talking about 20 marks on each question. So I cannot give you to say this and this. I think maybe what is best is, as we go on, we'll do the question papers, because that's the only way that we can be solid to say, if we go through those question papers and what's so not, and then you see how the question papers are answered, how you respond to different aspects, then I think that way it's workable. Because to simply say this and this, and to say this, you might find out that this year they might ask some things that I thought they would never ask. So you will say, Mr. Takunda he told us something that is not that did not come. Nah. So, and also the triple constraints, it's something that they usually like to ask. So it depends. It just depends. Sometimes they don't even ask you items here. They will ask you items on, is it unit 4, or I think it's on unit 4. They will ask you items on the project life cycle. Then they will ask you items on selection of projects, because remember, on selection of projects there are some different calculations that are there, so they will ask you those different calculations and things like that, and those items might take almost 80% of your examination. So I can't say this and this for now. What I can say is we'll go through the question papers and we'll touch on items that we know that they usually bring, like items on network diagrams. If maybe you have gone through your study guide module, you are going to find out there are some items where they talk about network diagrams. They talk about estimated completion times and what so not. They talk about how to calculate the critical path. Those items, they come. In net present value, those items, they usually come. So I can't really say which is which as of now from this unit 1. I can't say that. I'll be lying.
Okay, no, it's fine. I
All
was
right.
just maybe referring to today's one. Yeah, not the entire module. No, but thanks, you did answer.
All right. All right. So are there any questions, guys, before we go? All right. So thank you so much. All the best in your studies. Cheers.
Before you, how? He's gone.
No, it's here.
No, I'm still there. You were saying what?
Okay. I was asking with regards to tomorrow's class, are we meeting at 7 again tomorrow?
Tomorrow,
Yes, 7 o'clock.
Which class is tomorrow?
Introduction to Business Management, 7 o'clock.
All right. So, Mr. James, you can take them and complete so that we finish.
All right, no problem. No, tomorrow's class is 7 o'clock for Introduction to Business Management. That's correct.
Well, okay. And there was a question, Mr. James. I don't know whether you did hear about it. I think Matapel was asking how we are going to be getting the recording as well as the slides that Mr. Takunda was going through.
Okay, so what we do, like I highlighted earlier, is we have the WhatsApp group. So for now, I'm just going to send your team leader the link and the slides. But normally we have a WhatsApp group for the students that would have joined the classes, and within that WhatsApp group, we send them the notes. We also send them the videos. The videos will be in the form of YouTube, because we have a channel where we put our videos with their private videos. So like if you search for them on YouTube, you will not find all of them. You only find maybe lesson 1, lesson 2, but they will be in the form of YouTube links. So which means as long as you've got the YouTube app on your laptop or on your phone, you should be able to watch the recordings of the videos that we'll be sending through.
Oh, okay, thank you. So since I was the one talking to you with regards to the team that I did advise that we're going to join, meaning that you're going to send me the video
Yes.
and the slides to me,
And
then I
slides,
forward
yes.
it then through to the team.
Yes, I'll do that tomorrow in the morning because we need to upload it onto the channel. So tomorrow in the morning.
Okay, then, not a problem. All right then. And okay, we will talk with the team and give you and provide you with feedback, as we did say that we're going to discuss after the class.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
All right, thank you. You can end the class, Sandy.
All right. Cheers, guys. All the best.